So for the funding requests,
Yeah.
we'll just go in the order that
Yeah.
they're on the agenda.
Okay.
And then if recognize under public comment.
Oh, okay. Okay, great.
Yeah, I've been really lucky. I've never had allergies, but I noticed when I start sleeping with the door open, I don't have, but that's it. Then it goes away. I guess because I'm breathing
Oh yeah, it's
in the middle of the night.
Hey Jan, do I have to push anything?
But
How do I know?
the blue lights come on.
Oh, there we go. I can't see very well. I didn't bring my glasses.
Okay.
Hey.
Good evening. Can you all hear? We have these new microphones. I hope that our voices carry. If they don't, please let us know. Okay? Thank you all for being here. Okay. The regular meeting of the Grass Valley City Council, Capital Improvements Authority and Redevelopment Successor Agency, April 10th, Tuesday, 7 p.m., council chambers. The City Council welcomes you to its meetings, which are scheduled at 7 p.m. the second and fourth Tuesdays of each month. Your interest is encouraged and appreciated. This meeting is broadcast live on Channel 17 and recorded by NCTV and scheduled for rebroadcast on NCTV Channel 17. Contact NCTV for the program listings at www.nevadacountytv.org. In addition to being broadcast live on TV, it's also being broadcast live on the internet at the www.cityofgrassvalley.com. Meetings on video, City Council in the lower portion of the homepage, and follow the instructions. This meeting is also recorded on audio tape. Council chambers are wheelchair accessible and listening devices are available. Other special accommodations may be requested to the city clerk 72 hours in advance of the meetings. Action may be taken on any agenda item. Please turn off all cell phones or similar devices. Thank you. Agenda materials are available at City Hall, the City Grass Valley Public Library, or the city's website by clicking on each of the PDF icons. Staff reports and background information related to regular agenda items are available at City of Grass Valley, City Hall. Materials related to an item on this agenda submitted to the council after distribution of the agenda packet are available for public inspection in the city clerk's office at City Hall during normal business hours. Such documents are available on the City of Grass Valley website at www.cityofgrassvalley.com, subject to staff's ability to post the document before the meeting. So this meeting is called to order. A pledge of allegiance. If I could ask Mr. Landon to lead us, we'd appreciate it. Since he's up here in front, ready to go. No, you're good, right? You're in front.
Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Dan. Roll call. Christie?
Councilmember Aguilar?
Yes.
Councilmember Arbuckle?
Yes.
Councilmember Foyer?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Swarthout?
Yes.
Mayor Levine?
Yes, present.
5 members present tonight.
Agenda approval. The City Council reserves the right to hear items in a different order in order to accomplish business in the most efficient manner. Are there any changes to the agenda order?
No changes by staff.
Thank you. Introductions and presentations. I've asked the Highway Patrol, George, if you come down to just give us an update. We see that building often on McCourtney Drive, and just we work together a lot. And I see, George, if I could use the personal recognition to just talk a little bit about Highway Patrol and what's happening in our community.
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, thank you for inviting me tonight to give an overview, council members and ladies and gentlemen in the public. First of all, again, my name is George Stephenson. I've been the commander of the CHP office here now going on almost 4 years, so time flies. I remember meeting Howard down at the park for the mayor down at the park for the first time there on the National Night Out. It was quite the experience. I haven't seen that before in any of the communities that I've worked in. But again, thank you for having me. I'm just going to give you a brief overview of our current operations in the county. My office is currently down one body. We're allocated 25 officers for all of Nevada County with the exception of Truckee and almost all of Sierra County as well as some of Yuba County also over there. So we are a little understaffed these days when it comes comparative to the increase in population and roadway travel, but we're getting the job done. I currently have 3 special duty officers, and I'm 2 officers in my resident post for Sierra, Yuba County, and I basically have 16 people that I schedule for working road patrol within the greater Nevada County area. Just a quick overview of our operations. Yes, beautiful office. I've worked 11 areas in the state, everywhere from South Central Los Angeles to Alturas, and I've had the luck to work in almost all of the worst offices. And somehow I end up here. A beautiful community, Grass Valley, and then a brand new facility. So I heard what the old building was like. You could sneeze and it'd fall over. Just to give you some statistics on where we're at in the county. A real quick backup, just number one, I want to also say thank you to the working relationships, the collaborative relationships that we have with Grass Valley PD. First of all, and Nevada City PD and the Sheriff's Department around here. But I can tell you I've worked 11 field commands. I believe I reserve the right to know when I'm working with good agencies and good communities, and you need to be proud of your police department here. I've worked with many other that we work very well together, but I can tell you that the agencies here, specifically Grass Valley PD, is one notch above the rest. You're very professional. I've been out on foot pursuits with them in the middle of the night, helping each other with radio communications, and just great people. And I wanted to get that out there. Also, the majority of my staff are from Nevada County. They're vested in our community, involved in everything from church activities to sports. And we'll see as time goes on with new officers coming in, if they're able to move here. I know I have 3 new officers and 2 we're talking about moving and being vested in our community. With that, just a quick overview of statistics. Since 2013 to 2015, we've had a 76% increase in collisions throughout the county. With that being said, or correction, 73% increase. With that being said, there's various factors. What we've pretty much narrowed it down to is Nevada County now is as everybody knows, is a tourist destination 365 days a year. It's become busier just in the 4 years, almost 4 years that I've lived here. We have a larger population using the roadways during the summer months. And with that, as well as becoming a bedroom community, as everybody knows, for the greater Sacramento area, results in more travel. What some people, what actually catches me off guard is the majority of the collisions in Nevada County actually occur on the unincorporated roadways off the arterial routes. Some people seem to think that it's all 49 or all 20, especially in light of some recent tragedies that are very in the news and everything and highlighted. But the reality is the majority of our crashes occur on the county roads. I'll give you some examples just from 2016. One other thing, our call volume since 2013 to 2016, just call volumes, calls for service, which are not included in our collision statistics and our enforcement contacts, are up 48%. So that's our overall calls for service. In 2016, our total collision picture for the entire county was 773. 2017, we're at 854. And 2017, we are at 850. So 2018, we're on track to keep that approximate 70% increase over a 3-year period. However, we did have a slight decrease of 10% throughout the county during 2017 from 2016. And to give you some numbers, in 2017, our DUI accidents in the county were up 23%. Our DUI arrests, however, were up 61%. So our officers are out there doing their job. And those are DUIs not only of alcohol or drugs or combination of both. So far in 2018, for the year, our DUI accidents, thank God, are down 13% at this time. Maybe that's a benefit of the enforcement that the officers are doing. Let's hope so. And our DUI arrests are also down 59% at this time. However, we still have the summer months to go. So let's hope we see a decrease through the year with that increased enforcement. The other thing that I wanted to highlight is fatal collisions in our county. In 2016, we had 8 fatal collisions. 2017, we had 5, so it had dropped. But then 2018, at this point right now, we have 5 fatals that we've worked already with 7 victims, unfortunately. So, and with that, some of the problematic areas in the county, as everybody knows, is 49 and Highway 20. Even though the statistics are not showing that those are where the majority of the collisions are happening, the reality is anybody who has to turn left on Highway 49 knows that it's a dangerous road. So what we've done for the future is this last year in 2017, we've worked approximately 8 strike forces using grant overtime federal funding that we've secured through Office of Traffic Safety, trying to keep our citizens safe here. My staff wrote a grant with the Auburn CHP office. It's currently in the final revision stage for the next 2 federal fiscal years, securing funds for our office for more speed and DUI enforcement on the 49 corridor. So we're waiting to hear the final approval on that. We'll continue to seek grant money in the future to try to address the problems. Right now, we've spent all the grant money for first quarter. I'm moving on to second quarter. I'm including Highway 20 now as a new focal point, and getting and securing funding for officers working extra speed enforcement and DUI enforcement. With that, I'd just like to close. Again, thank you, Mayor, and thanks to Council for having me here. Again, I really appreciate being here. It's a beautiful community. Work very well with your local law enforcement and all the agencies for that matter. And do you have any questions of me?
I actually do. Distracted driving is something that we talk about. We're on our, and how is that being enforced? Let me ask all my questions at one time, and then you can respond how you want. And then you talked about Highway 49 and Highway 20, but you didn't mention Highway 174 in that, and there's all that work being done. So it's just a comment maybe. And then finally, I want to say thank you very much for the collaboration. I see you at a lot of events, night out, but also we do Donation Day, the 130-year-old tradition, and the Highway Patrol is very involved in helping us secure the freeway for that, and I want to thank you so much for that.
You're welcome, Mayor. Now, what was the first question again? Forgive me.
Distracted driving.
I was thinking.
I distracted you. Yeah.
Well, you did. You know, that's a passion of mine. It just so happens that April is Distracted Driving Month. Generally, every other year, Grass Valley PD, the Sheriff's Department, Nevada City PA, and ourselves, we meet for several days and do strike forces on distracted driving during our normal duties. We didn't plan one this year because if you do it all the time, but anyways, back to it. It's hard to get solid statistics on that, Mayor, because if you can imagine, people don't always tell us the truth when we ask them if they've been on their phone at the scene of a collision. You'd be surprised, a lot of people do. But everybody knows you drive down the road and you look and people are on their phone. I can't put a solid number, but I can tell you it's one of the biggest issues we're dealing with on the highways as we speak. again, April is Distracted Driving Month, and we go out there and we try to enforce that. Matter of fact, last year I think we wrote a number of tickets on distracted driving. Real quick here. 81 cell phone tickets. And cell phone tickets are actually very difficult to get because everybody sees a black and white or a police car from a block away, and where do the cell phones go? So,
I heard that. I thought, oh, how clever.
so that is a focal point, yes. And so anyways, it's a big problem. I think it's part of a cultural shift that I explain at a lot of our community meetings. Some of them have been on the 49 corridor. People ask me what are the biggest problems. I say speed, DUI, distracted driving, and our cultural shift. And they ask me, well, what do you mean by your cultural shift? Well, you know, during the 49 issues last year, I made a stop on a beautiful Tesla for doing 80 miles an hour in South County on an ice day. And I asked the gentleman, do you know all this stuff going on in 49 and what's in the media? Oh, absolutely. And I said, well, sir, why are you going 80 plus miles an hour? Oh, well, I have a Tesla with this and this and this. Doesn't do you any good on ice. So it's a cultural change. And I know that all the law enforcement agencies here and ours try to get out there in the public at public venues and really try to make a positive change in our community. Don't let me put a negative light. I will say that most of the people we contact in this community are very law-abiding and positive. But we still have that cultural change. It's like, how do you, they still know, but they still speed. It's a decision. So very serious issue, Mayor, and we're going to continue to address that in the future, not only with my agency, but in most years with as collaborative efforts with allied agencies. Your second question, 174. I'm not involved in the engineering aspect of that. We do work speed on there. I do have citation statistics to prove it. Every now and then people call in and say, well, why don't we see you out there? But I pull up the citation numbers on Highway 174, and they're there. We are working it. Keep in mind we are low staffed, but I remind people right now we don't have a radar survey that's in effect for that portion of roadway. Hopefully we're going to get that soon, depending on what happens with any construction that may or may not happen. So that's 174. And your third question had...
Well, it's just about collaboration and doing it. That was fine. And with that, thank you and your staff for a great job.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah. Anything else? All right. Have a nice evening.
Appreciate you being here. Okay. Okay. Consent items. I'm sorry, public comment. You wouldn't want me to miss that. There is a time limitation of 3 minutes per person for any items that are not on the agenda, and you'll be first, okay?
I'm going to take public comment. Just
Okay. Do you want to speak before public comment, Alex?
Sure.
Okay, I'm sorry, I misunderstood. Okay. Let me introduce Police Chief Alex Gamelgard.
Yes, Mayor and Council, thank you. Alex Gamelgard, your Chief of Police. And I want to take the opportunity tonight during public comment to address just briefly some public comments we heard at the last City Council meeting, specifically related to the proposed and planned opening of a methadone clinic on Margaret Lane in Grass Valley. The first thing I wanted to do is just make the Council and the public aware that there is planned another neighborhood meeting on April 19th at 11 a.m. at the facility there where they proposed to open, which is Aegis. And I just also wanted to mention that the police department is working with the management there to ensure that they know that we're watching and that we're listening to community concerns, and that we will be patrolling the area, ensuring to the best of our abilities that it is a safe, remains a safe neighborhood. Also want to, we've had meetings, neighborhood watch meetings with the neighborhood and neighbors, and ensure that they know that we're here to be a strong partnership with the neighborhood, and give them the tools and capability to get in touch with us and communicate with us and have that relationship, because that's the key to any successful neighborhood watch program and to successful community policing. Our hope is that by having the relationship, if you will, with the management, but more so also with the neighbors, that this facility, because it is moving forward at this point, that it will not have a palatable impact on the safety and the character of the neighborhood, and we're here for the neighbors. We'll be at that meeting on the 19th. We'd like to invite any council member that would like to come as well, and that's what I wanted to give you an update on. So thank you.
Very much. Okay. So let me move to public comment and the rules and so there is a time limitation of 3 minutes per person for any items that are not on the agenda and within the jurisdiction of the the city. Where'd that come from? Please come to the podium at this time and speak in the microphone. If you wish to speak regarding a scheduled agenda item, please come to the podium when the item number and subject matter are announced and speak into the microphone. When recognized, please begin by providing your name and address for the record. Anyone wishing to submit a written information at the meeting needs to furnish 10 copies to the city clerk in advance to allow for distribution to city council staff and the media. Thank you. And just so you know, in public comment, we do not respond. It is for us to hear from you. And there's the little clock there that has a timer, green, yellow, red, flashing red, all done. Okay?
Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah, and welcome. And where's my...
Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Elizabeth Poston, 232 East Main Street, and I am here tonight on behalf of the Citizens for the Future of Grass Valley, Measure E Committee. And we've been working really hard on this measure for the last 4 months. For those that don't know, Measure E is for proposing a half-cent sales tax increase to fund our police department, fire department, our road improvements, sidewalk improvements for better accessibility for all, and completely revitalizing our parks. So this has been a great experience for me. It's taught me a lot about the process, how you put together a measure and bring it forth to the voters. It's also taught me a lot about what Measure N has done for our community and all of the great benefits that Measure E will bring to our community if that is passed in June. What I do find most valuable about this experience so far is that I am working alongside a fantastic, dynamic, and diverse group of individuals. And we all come from different walks of life, career paths, age groups, political affiliations, but we found this common thread with Measure E, and we all see the great impact that this will have for our community should this pass, and we're working very diligently to make that happen. I would encourage our media to investigate and highlight what Measure N has done thus far. I think it's really important for the community's understanding and the perception regarding this measure and the potential detrimental impacts should Measure E not pass. We all think that this is incredibly important, and we're at a very critical time right now. And to put it simply, I really do believe that Measure N was our lifesaver, and Measure E is going to be our game changer. So that's all. Thank you so much for your time. Have a good night.
Good evening. My name is Judy Lance. I live at 417 Kate Hayes in town. I'm a regular here. I feel that the more that I come, the more I talk about our organization. We are the soccer league in town. Right now we have our comp in spring. We are probably about 140, 150 youth that are playing. When we start up in, our league starts up, we will have probably about close to 900 rec and over 300 comp. That's a lot of our youth that is playing in our community, just soccer. I find it's very important that we are trying to find land, places for our children to play on safe fields, quality fields that are not gopher holed, and just a better place and fields for our youth. I've passed out paperwork. We have an opening day coming up, and I'm inviting any of the council members that would like to come to see what our league is about. I'll be going around town looking for any donations from any of the merchants in town for the raffles at our opening day to try and help support. We're a nonprofit So we try to generate money as we can. So if anybody's interested in coming, or if anybody hears me on the radio or in here that's interested in helping out our league, it's greatly appreciated, any help that we get, especially land, so that we can have our youth play together. And I've spoke before about how important it is that if we have families that have 3 and 4 children playing, they're all over town trying to go from this park to that park to see each child play their games. So it's important that we try to get something that is together so that families can come together on the same fields, and we have our leagues play together like most all other counties do. You know, they have big facilities. So I just feel it's very important that we do whatever we can for our youth in Grass Valley to help them out. Thank you for your time.
I just want to ask one question.
Yeah.
What time? You have the date, but
It's from 10 to 2. Yes, thank you.
We'll take them, but yeah, we'll take them. But give them to the.
Good evening, I'm Laura Pat. I was here last week. I am at, 2 weeks ago. And I am a business owner at 123 Margaret Lane. And this is regarding the Aegis dilemma. When I came to you 2 weeks ago, I ended with, well, yeah, let's do this right. Well, tonight I'm going to begin with that. Let's try to do this right. What I handed out to you, these are the federal guidelines for opioid clinics. As you will see, most of these were not followed in our situation at all. These guidelines were put in place to help with having a successful clinic. Success is not only important for the drug addict, but for the entire community. Aegis has stated that they will start with 25 to 30 patients a day. Doors will open at 5 a.m. 7 days a week. Margaret, I will reiterate, Margaret and Spree have absolutely no streetlights or updated sidewalks, even speed signs. 5 a.m. on these streets are very dark, and the addicts need to be close to their methadone and will wait on city streets for their clinic to open, which is in a shared neighborhood. The old saying, if you build it, they will come, will most certainly apply here, since this opioid problem is vast. This is a for-profit clinic, so they're going to want a lot of people. Already new situations have occurred in the past months, just since they put up their sign. I have firsthand prospective methadone clinics looking for their new clinic, a surge in needles, using our property for temporary shelter, spending early mornings sleeping in our parking lot, etc. Of course, we are working with Grass Valley PD to be proactive and ensure the safety of all, and they have been great coming to our meetings. I know this is not the best, but if we did take a Michael Moore approach to this problem and made a little short film of what's going on, I'm sure this would be a no-brainer to the viewer. So many other locations would make this Aegis venture in this community a success. So please, I'm asking if you could make this a priority on your next calendar so we can do this right. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Patty Galley, 122 Race Street, Grass Valley. I would like to speak tonight in support of Measure E. I am seeking as many public venues as I can to help people understand the importance of voting in favor of Measure E and the benefits that they will receive. When you purchase a home, you also purchase a community. Just like your home, you need to invest in your city to keep up repairs, make improvements, and bring enjoyment to your life. Investing financially in your city means better safety, better improvements to roads and infrastructure, and increased property values. Measure E brings the funds necessary to continue the good work of the council in improving our downtown, main streets, and other main projects that include street and sidewalk repair, park improvements, and funding of services and equipment for public safety, all of which keep our community a healthy and wonderful place to live. Most importantly, Measure E will bring much needed funding to public safety. We need to address issues of crime and the impact they have on our community. How we do this effectively is to properly fund our police, fire, and emergency services. The reality is that maintaining a good quality of life costs money. No one can deny that. I am very confident our council will use the money wisely and for the intended purpose of investing in our future and making Grass Valley the best it can be. Voting yes on Measure E is the right thing to do. A small half-cent sales tax increase will make a big improvement in the livability of our citizens. Please join me in support of Measure E and be sure to vote on June 5th. Thank you.
Hi. My name is Terry Matthews. I live at 103 Margaret Lane. I went ahead and drafted a letter for the board. I can read all of it, or I can just give you the letters and just highlight a few things on it. So I'd like to do that if that's okay. So the few things I'd like to highlight is that this is regarding the Aegis Methadone Distribution Clinic. Being in the medical field myself and having experience working with many rehab patients and compromised medical condition patients, the methadone clinics, in all my research and my own experience, is that this is medications that they are permanently on. It is not something they come off of because of their medical conditions. They stay on it, and so the medications are given out each day, and each person that needs that medication will be at this facility every single day. I have no idea how they're getting there, what their transportation is to get there, but a lot of the people on these medications don't have transportation because they're in process of having normal life work for them. So they have many struggles that they have to deal with. This area of the city of Grass Valley that has been chosen for the distribution clinic, it's not a counseling center. It is only distributing medications that are narcotics. It is open at 5 a.m. They do not have fully functional sidewalks on both sides of the street, either on Margaret or on Spree Street. They do not have access to a bus stop, either on Margaret or on Spree Street. So they will be driving off the freeway and coming through and making a circle. The roads are already in disrepair, and they need to be upgraded and updated according to our codes for the city. And they have no street lights, which need to be also be brought up to code. I'm going to cut it short because I'm almost out of time, so I'll just pass the letter on, and it explains the rest. Sure. Thank you so much.
Good evening. My name is Jonathan Keene, and I live on Alta Vista Avenue up behind DiMartino Park. Thank you, Mayor Levine and City Council, for allowing some time. I just have a few minutes, so I'd like to talk to you on behalf of the Wolf Creek Community Alliance. As you may know, our slogan is Grass Valley, a creek runs through it. And so I'm sure you'll want to know about a really interesting, cool event that's coming up. And that's why I'm here to talk to you about. It's an event that's called Know Your Watershed Week. And it's going to be running for 9 days from April 28th through May 6th. And you have some information in your packets about this, so you can read it at your leisure. It's going to be, so the Know Your Watershed Week is going to be celebrating 3 watersheds: the Yuba watershed, the Bear River watershed, and the American River watershed. And it's a time for kids and adults to learn about and explore our own watershed, online and outdoors. So right now we have over 20 organizations that have already signed up, and we've scheduled 30 different events throughout these 3 watersheds in our area, including quite a few here in Grass Valley and in the Wolf Creek watershed. So anyway, I just encourage each of you to go to their website there. It's called knowyourwatershed.org, you'll find an interactive map where you can type in your address, and it will locate you on the map, which watershed you're in, what water courses are around you, and you can explore your own watershed that way. If you also find the list of scheduled events, which is still growing. We still have new people signing up with new events, so you can find something for you to take part in. I think that's it. So thank you very much, and look forward to seeing you around the watershed. All right.
That's kind of cool. Figure it out.
Good evening. My name is Anna Yun, and I am here on behalf of my elderly parents, Dorothy and Wallace Yun, who live on 106 Margaret Lane in Grass Valley. And again, I am here concerning the methadone clinic. So tonight I'd like to share a map of the neighborhood if you are not familiar with it. And I want to explain that this neighborhood was all residential when my parents moved here, back in the 60s and 70s when it was developed. In the 80s and 90s is when, and this was all under county jurisdiction. So in the 80s and 90s, it was then rezoned to a dual zone, which was commercial, to allow doctors to come into this area to be close to the hospital. These were allowed private individual doctors with private practice. They practiced 4 days a week. In the recent 5 years, if I understand it, the city has now claimed jurisdiction over the neighborhood. We still have 13 houses there, but our zoning is now considered office professional only, and the residents here are considered legally non-conforming. And so with Aegis coming in, I understand the zoning of methadone clinics. I work in the health field. And what happened, as one of the previous speakers gave you the regulations, there were no rules and regulations followed by this company when it came to the federal rules and regulations. And what I want to point out, as everyone has pointed out, is this area, because it was under county jurisdiction, still has very small streets. There are obviously no street lights. And this lane, Margaret Lane, can barely hold 2 cars coming either way. Because of the hospital, this street has now been compromised, Spree Avenue, where you cannot turn left into it, and when you come out, you cannot turn left. And so this is a private, quiet neighborhood, secluded. So to ask a methadone clinic to be in here in a very private, secluded neighborhood, where people now are elderly, they're retiring, they have their grandkids, it's really not quite appropriate. And one of my concerns is that there are other offices around that are medically inclined that are in a more public, open, and well-lit area. And I think I heard the policeman say that this is kind of a done deal, which is very sad, because in coming to the city council and talking from my parents, I look at you and I say, we elected you guys to support these communities and these neighbors, and this is your position. And yet Aegis did not notify us, they did not notify you, they did not notify any of the professional buildings on here. I don't know what I can do, but I'm asking for your support to figure out what we can do and how not just make it safe, because the police will be there, but every time we call, it's an after-the-fact issue. And all the neighbors here, because of the design back in the 60s and 70s, they're all open with they have land, open neighborhoods, no fencing. And so it's like what we're forced to fence ourselves in, and I hope that's not the case. So thank you for your time.
Good evening, council members. My name is Jean Yun, and I'm here to speak on behalf of my parents, Wallace and Dorothy Yun, who live at 106 Margaret Lane. And of course, you know I'm speaking on Aegis. So you've already heard that the Aegis group did not follow the federal guidelines. You've also heard the Grass Valley police officers speak about how they're working with our community. They've met with our neighborhood watch. I think he neglected to tell you, we were actually told that in our neighborhood, vandalism, petty crimes, and break-ins will increase, because it's not just the users that are using the clinic, but they come with their friends who also need drugs. So, and there was a whole separate culture around that. So we forgot about this little bycatch area population that may be infiltrating the neighborhood. You've already heard there's no street lights. You've heard that the roads are in disrepair, so there's no need to go over that. And regarding speed limits, there are no speed limit signs in that neighborhood. And we have children in the neighborhood too. One thing that the Neighborhood Watch meeting, we discovered that these people who use methadone will also need their fixes at early in the morning, and that's why it's opened at 5 a.m. But some of them may not be able to get there or are anxious to get there early enough, so they will often spend the night and camp out in the area close by the clinics. My parents have an open lot. My parents have a driveway and bushes and their own little home back there. It's a great place to go and hide and sleep under their deck, and many of the other neighbors also have open decks. So I hope you consider, or at least reconsider, the Aegis Methadone Clinic and recommend that they relocate to a medical area where there's bus lines, where there are sidewalks, where it is accessible, and not near residents where children and elderly are living. I'm sure none of you would like to be dealing with this situation in your own neighborhoods. So I think you can reconsider and help us find a solution around this. Thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is Karen Bridger. I'm a co-owner of a medical office at 101 Margaret Lane. So that's at the corner of Catherine and Margaret. And my concern is that the traffic control at the bottom of Margaret Lane coming out onto Catherine is visually obstructed by all the vehicles that park along the roadway. And I'm concerned that with more traffic coming up and down Margaret, that there will be an increase in collisions, possibly affecting pedestrians. So I would say if that alone could cause you to reconsider, that would be sufficient. But there are the other issues that have already been brought up, and especially the increase in transient populations and paraphernalia that's left around these offices, vandalism, and the sad but true circumstance of many folks in the community who have no place else to be. So I would appreciate any consideration. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council members. My name is Ed Thomas. I live on Morgan Ranch Drive. I'm here tonight on behalf of NEO. That's N-E-O, New Experiences and Opportunities for Our Youth. It's an organization that was started several years ago by two young women, and it has continued to grow and provide an after-school location where our youth can go, get help with their homework, play pool, ping pong. There's a music setup, and they have instruments, and it's just a great gathering place. NEO has acquired the rest of the building they are in, which is going to increase the space they have by 300%. And so they're going to be able to serve more kids and do a better job at what they've been doing because they'll be able to segregate the activities and so forth. So I'm here tonight to invite you all to either a gratis lunch or gratis dinner given by NEO on April 21st. It's going to be an opportunity to hear about their plans for their new space. There's also a significant amount of open space behind the building that they're going to have a garden planted in. The kids can learn how to grow things. I'm sure Sierra Harvest will get involved. Maybe have a basketball court and an eating area. So, April 21st, lunch or dinner. Both programs are going to be like 2 hours long. Lunch starts at 11:30, and I think dinner's at 5. Or I believe dinner's at 5:30, and it'll be a great chance to see what they're doing and support them. And so I would also like to ask anyone in the community that has an interest in helping our youth by getting involved with NEO and would like to come and hear what they're doing, if you call 263-7742, someone will tell you about the event, and we would be happy to have you come. Thank you very much.
Good evening, Council. Howard. My name is Dave Kozlowski. I live at 108 Spree Avenue, and it seems to be the popular subject tonight is the methadone clinic. After listening to a presentation last night by the Grass Valley Police Department, I've concluded that the approval of this clinic in this location is one of the most egregious errors that this city has ever made. I have lived in Nevada County for 42 years, 35 of those years in the city of Grass Valley, and never have I been faced with something that is just, I think is going to affect my life, my house where I chose to retire and live and plan to be forever. What I was told last night at a meeting was that I could expect to see increase in theft of our homes, of our yards, and of our vehicles, loitering, illegal camping, increased needle and drug paraphernalia assortments on our street, panhandling, and traffic, just to name a few. We were told that the best thing that we can do is install lighting with motion sensors, at our expense, of course. We're not causing this problem. That we can form a neighborhood watch, which we are in the process of doing, and that not to engage these people in any way. We're supposed to ignore their existence on our street. We were also told that to expect between 20 and 25 clients to visit this clinic daily, but that would increase as it became more known, and it could be up to as many as 100 people per day. No one in our neighborhood, any of the 13 houses that are affected, 11 on Spree and 2 on Margaret Lane, disagree with the fact that a facility like this is necessary, but we question why it was chosen to be in a residential neighborhood. Yes, it's zoned for medical and for business, but that's a cop-out. It is one thing to allow a dentist office or a doctor's office or a physician's office of any kind. That's one thing. But a methadone clinic in a residential neighborhood with kids, little kids, some as young as 4 and 5 years old, or retired people. My next door neighbor's in his 80s. He's scared to death. We just do not understand why this has been hidden for us for so long. None of the guidelines were followed. We know that they're not laws. We know that they don't have to be done, but there's been no communication between any of you people with us, anybody from the city with us, nor with this outfit before this whole thing started. And I see us blinking. I will dismiss myself now. Thank you.
Matthew Coulter, Grass Valley. Rental space in Grass Valley is quite expensive and going up at a high rate. The Bread and Roses thrift store was closed for a number of months. The money that the city gave to the county, or gave to Hospitality House for the warming shelter, thousands and thousands of dollars were used to rent an empty store that has been closed. So I think in future it'd be nice to know that the money is actually going to something versus paying rent on an overpriced closed store. The city really needs to think about something in between the ground or the dirt and Hospitality House. All the people that can't get in there are roaming the streets, either wet, cold, hot, as the case will be soon. We're wasting a lot of police and fire resources playing whack-a-mole. I wish we could give the moles a place to go. Our waterways are being greatly impacted, as well as fire season is about to begin, and the amount of people in the woods this year will be 10 times what it was last year. We were very lucky last year. I hope we will be this year. Thank you.
My turn. Joanne Marie, Vista Avenue, Grass Valley. Mayor Levine, council members, thank you in advance for considering the proposal being brought forth by Eliza Tudor, Executive Director of Nevada County Arts Council, regarding the Sierra Poetry Festival. Your approval will benefit the children of Grass Valley in developing a cultural appreciation.
I don't mean to cut you short, but that's on the agenda tonight, so we'll hear that comment during that time. You'll be here.
Oh, okay. When can I come back up and talk to you?
When we that proposal will be on the agenda tonight, so we'll be hearing those proposals.
When you see Eliza.
Yeah. So thank you for your patience. Okay.
You see Eliza come out.
Okay, let's see if okay, and any other public comment? Okay. Thank you all for your comments, and we do appreciate them, and we do understand what you're saying. And with that, I'll close the public comment. The next item on the agenda is consent. All matters listed under the consent calendar to be considered routine by the City Council will be enacted by one motion in the form listed. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless before City Council votes on the motion to adopt. Members of the council, staff, or the public request specific items to be removed from the consent calendar for separate discussion and action. Any requests from the council? No. Staff?
No, but I do have a recusal on item number 3. Peabody Creek's across the street from my house.
Oh, that's true, it is. Okay. Mr. Coulter, would you like to come up and tell me which number, please, so we have it on the record?
Can I speak to 3? Now?
3. Oh, not yet. I just wanted it in the microphone. Thank you.
So I make a motion that we approve the consent calendar with the removal of item number 3 to be moved to item G.
Christy, would you please do the roll call?
Councilmember Aguilar?
Yes.
Councilmember Arbuckle?
Yes.
Councilmember Foyer?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Swarthout?
Yes.
Mayor Levine?
Yes, thank you.
Motion carries 5-0.
Item number 3 is a professional service agreement. American Rivers, the council award a professional service agreement to American Rivers, a nonprofit organization for oversight and assistance in the execution of the Peabody Creek Restoration Project. And 2, authorize the city manager to execute the professional service agreement for a 2-year period for a total amount not to exceed $123,000 to subject to legal review. Mr. Coulter, would you like to comment on that, please?
Matthew Coulter, Grass Valley. I guess my comment on this is it's time to really get real with our waterways around here. South Fork, Wolf Creek, Little Wolf Creek, and Wolf Creek itself is impacted heavily right now. Development like Timberwood Estates that drives equipment directly into Olympia waterway without any restrictions, any baffles for runoff or anything, running all kinds of stuff down our creeks, instead of leaving a buffer next to them, which they're required to do. So they're breaking all kinds of regulations with no, nothing to tell them not to do it, no penalties, nothing. The runoff from the businesses as well that are, and our toxic mining legacy, the plastics that are fouling our waterway and making their way into the ocean, as a whale just washed up on the beach with 80 pounds of plastic in its gut. I have a feeling a small piece came from maybe Mill Street. Thank you.
Is there any?
I make a motion that we approve item number 3.
Second.
Chris, do we need a roll call? Yeah. We don't. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so carried. Thank you. Jason, can you hear me? I know that this is your favorite thing, the next one. I get to go out there. So the next item 7 is Development Code Amendment 17PL-35. Planning Commission recommends to the City Council on amendment of the Development Code, including short-term rental units. And I have to recuse myself since I happen to be in the business. So, excuse me.
Tom?
Madam Vice Mayor, members of the council, Tom Lass, Community Development Director. So as far as some background on this item, this is a City Council initiated code amendment. In June and September of last year, staff did review and discuss short-term rentals with the City Council. This is related to the renting of bedrooms or homes for vacation and transient use. In October of 2010, look here. So in October of last year, staff presented the council with several issues that we wanted to obtain direction on in order to put together a draft ordinance. And so council did give us our direction, and then staff then proceeded to preparing an ordinance for Planning Commission and City Council consideration. Public comments were received at all three of those council meetings. The Planning Commission conducted 2 public hearings on this item, both in January and February at its meetings. They continued the meeting from January. The primary focus of the continuation and also the primary discussion of the entire code amendments really revolved around the rental of vacation rental homes. And I'll get into that, what that term is in a moment, and how that would potentially impact neighborhoods. That was really the primary area of discussion. So some of the changes, we are proposing some amendments to the current regulations pertaining to bed and breakfast inns. Currently, those are allowed in several non-residential zones. So the proposed changes to the bed and breakfast section are the purpose of that is to make sure they are treated equally with any short-term rentals should that be approved. So some of the proposed amendments, basically we have two main types of what we are calling short-term rentals. One is the hosted short-term rental. This is where no more than 2 bedrooms in a home could be rented. 30 consecutive days would be the maximum limit, and that's considered a transient use. And also the owner or manager must live in the home. Those were the input given by the council, and the commission concurred with that. Vacation rental homes is a different item. It has a different set of operating standards. It includes this is where the entire home can be rented. It's also for 30 consecutive days. The owner or manager in that case must live within 30 miles of the home. That's what was presented to the Planning Commission, and they were okay with that. And then also with this, it's key to understand that if 5 or more rooms or 10 or more guests are in a single home, then they must meet ADA, fire, and building codes. There's a different set of regulations that kick in after that number of bedrooms or number of guests. And that would be the same with a bed and breakfast currently. That would be the same rules and regulations. Some miscellaneous changes. So on pages 7, 10, 11, and 12 of the staff report or in the council packet, there is a change that we're proposing that would relate to open space uses to reflect, basically adding additional uses to really reflect the activities that are occurring in all city parks. Basically, all the city parks are zoned open space, and we wanted to make sure that as we did expansions or did improvements that they were consistent with that. So one of the things we did note, there was a member of the public that pointed out that there are other spaces zoned open space, and the intent wasn't to have those additional uses in the pure open space areas where it's designated for no development. So we did add a footnote, the Planning Commission did add a footnote to that to clarify that this change only applies to city parks. So if it's a city park and it's zoned open space, then these additional uses would be permitted. Otherwise, the uses would not be allowed in the general other open space zones. We also added a provision for mobile home, boat, and RV sales as a use permit in the C2 and also permitted in the C3, M1, M2 zones. And this is to address just an oversight issue. Those uses are not specifically listed in these zones, but they're intended, they were intended to be listed in that designation. And then the glossary, there are several changes to definitions pertaining to vehicle sales and rentals, and also to eliminate some redundant and confusing text that currently in the development code. And then as far as some of the issues and amendments, with the amendments, again, one of the items that section C1 of the short-term rentals, which are again the rental of the homes or the vacation home, council suggested there be a limit on the number of rental homes as being allowed in the city. So after the council gave that direction, staff did some research the best we could find. You know, we did contact VRBO and some other organizations to try to get an idea of what the number were potentially in the city. Our best guess was about 50 to maybe 60 are maybe in the city currently operating. And so one of the items that the council, we sought direction on that concept of should there be a limit on the number in the city. Again, this is the rental of the entire home, not the individual, you know, if an individual is going to rent a room or two. This would only apply to where the whole house is being rented. And so, again, staff's research showed about 50 to 60, and then the Planning Commission recommended, they had a lot of discussion on this item, and they indicated that they put a number of 20 out there that they believe that would be comfortable for the city. Staff did note in our staff report that some of the concerns with having a limit or not having a limit even, there will be some code enforcement and staffing issues to try to monitor this and manage these type of putting limits on the number. The council packet includes a substantial amount of information from the public. There were information provided to the council and also to the commission that's included. A lot of that does express concern with having vacation rental units again, where the whole house is being rented, or vacation homes. That seemed to be the predominant area of concern with the proposed changes as we went through this process. Not so much the units, you know, 1 or 2 units being rented in a home. It's really where the whole house is being rented. There was also, we had members of the public that did speak in support of this and believe this was a potential positive change for the city to consider. So with that, staff's recommendation is to adopt the findings in the staff report, on actually page 1 of the staff report, and then adopt the ordinance. Actually, it is to introduce the ordinance and read by title only, and then waive the first reading of the ordinance. So with that concludes my presentation. And if you have some questions, I'd be happy to answer.
I have one quick one before we go to most of after public comment. When you talk about the 60 that are currently existing and the Planning Commission's recommendation of 20 to go down to, what would be the process of, you know, going from 60 to 20? What kind of process would you say that we would need to go through?
So for vacation rental homes, the process is to create a minor use permit. So individuals would have to come in and apply for that permit.
The first 20, essentially.
Yeah, whatever that number is established, that if there was a limit put on it, it would be the first 20, 30, 40, whatever number was chosen to come in would be processed. And if they were approved, they would be the ones that could operate. And as long as they complied with the operating standards, they can continue to comply. I did want to point out that staff did incorporate, working with the city attorney's office, some stronger language in terms of the enforcement process for this to try to create an expedited, to give staff a little more teeth and a little more, we had more teeth to actually enforce this on a quicker and more efficient manner. So if there were violations to the operating standards for vacation rental homes, we have the ability to act quicker than our normal process currently in place for a lot of code enforcement. So we do have an expedited process, which hopefully then maybe result in stronger compliance and people complying with the process, because they can have permits revoked fairly easily for non-compliance.
I guess I got a question for you next. In regards to that, we would have, let's just say the magic number was 20. The 40 folks that currently have an existing permitted rental activity, any sort of issue that we should be worried about with legal, we're stripping them of those rights.
My understanding is that those current uses are not permitted, though, correct?
Don't have anything that's
they would just continue to be
not enforced. So
they're not permitted now. So if they are operating, they are operating in violation of the city zoning code. So this establishes a process to legitimize them and allow them to occur, and also operating standards and an enforcement process.
So this is a notice public hearing. At this time, I'd like to open it up for public comment.
At Thomas Morgan Ranch Drive. I'm not an expert on this issue, but I was unaware that Airbnbs were a big problem in our community. And I think we should do everything that we can to draw people into our community. And just arbitrarily going from 50 or 60 to 20 seems just like that to me. It's very arbitrary and may not be in the best interest of the city. Thank you.
Matthew Coulter, Grass Valley. If I was fortunate enough to own a home and I was using this as a business and you guys came to try to take it away from me, I think the next person will be the lawyer you talk to. Because without some kind of a lottery system where it's a random thing, the first 20 people that show up, how are you going to notify everyone? Are they going to be notified at the exact same time? Is it going to be like the stock market where it's all computerized and it goes in and who's ever got the fastest equipment gets in? We're selling out to the highest bidder. You know, a lot of the cars parked in the houses now cost more than the houses did just a few years ago. So the shift is just so intense. Workforce housing, affordable housing, places for people to live that actually work here so they don't have to drive that blood corridor to up and down 49 or up and down 20. As far as enforcement, if we can't enforce people that are obviously breaking the law with cell phones, drugs, all this other stuff, I see this as a unenforceable issue. And as far as being grandfathered in, I bring issues to the city on a regular basis, and I get that thing like, oh, they've been doing that for so long, they can do that there. Even though it's completely environmentally destructive, not advantageous to the city, but because they've been there doing it. So what's to keep anyone from saying, I've been doing this for 40 years? You know, how are you going to keep me from being not grandfathered in? And if it's a business, which these are, why not like every other business in a case-by-case basis? Do you have enough parking? Do you have these things that are required, not just assuming that they do when they come to you, give you a piece of paper saying they have them? Thank you.
No time limit. We don't start the clock until you get up there.
Matthew Gross, 509 Brighton Street. I encourage you guys not to shoot yourself in the foot with putting a limit. I don't know if 20 is the number, if that's just something you're throwing out there. Airbnbs provide a service that people coming to this town like. Oftentimes, they provide a much better service than is what is available at the local hotels. They're cleaner, they get a little sense of the neighborhood. So you would think most people that have Airbnbs would say, oh yeah, let's limit the numbers so that we have more opportunity. The fact is, there are so many people coming here that want to stay in these that we need to keep them open. If the number's 20, that's ridiculous. It needs to be above that, and we need to continue to provide people that want to come here, buy a home, enjoy our community with a nice, neat place to stay. It's the way it's going. Airbnbs are not a thing of the future, they're a thing of now. So we have to get used to it. Thank you.
Good evening, Ralph Silberstein. I'm a resident of Grass Valley. First, I want to congratulate the city on coming up with some clear wording on the hosted Airbnbs where people are living in the house. And I think that's good. People have a home, they want to make a little extra revenue, they can rent out a room, and that makes sense. Regarding the whole house rentals, the numbers are pretty shocking. We have a housing crisis here, and then you look at 50 or 60 houses that are basically taken out of rental market, you know, for this Airbnb. And these are people who aren't living here. They're just people coming up, transient, you know, short-term visits. So we're all twisting our thumbs trying to figure out what to do about this housing crisis. And if we just let the Airbnbs go forward with no limits, it's just going to get worse. So I urge you to hold the 20-unit limit to address the housing shortage. As for how to do that, yes, that's a tough question. So maybe there should be an auction and, you know, generate revenue. And then the cost value of having an Airbnb will somewhat reflect the cap on what the auction would be. Or maybe it should be a lottery or something like that. And that can probably be worked out. But we need to keep local control, not speculators. And as it is now, we don't want non-local owners buying up properties up here in mass and then just flipping them into Airbnbs. And there goes our housing. So it just aggravates the problem. Now, there is a limit in this current proposed ordinance to reduce the distance to keep the distance at 30 miles. But even then, you can have someone who, say, lives in Auburn who decides just to keep buying properties up here and renting them out. I mean, for Airbnbs. It's just going to erode our housing market. So I would say that distance should be reduced to maybe 10 miles. Also, maybe the code should include a limit to where an owner can only own one rental unit for Airbnb. Otherwise, someone can just keep buying them up. And it's the smaller houses that are targeted for this, and those are the people, the young people in our community who are trying to find a place to live that need it the most. So I think that's why the Planning Commission settled on 20 units, because they were thinking about that. A lot of people commented on that. I don't know if those people are here tonight. So that's all I really wanted to say, except I want to comment briefly on the open space zoning in the city in order to be able to add some buildings to the city-owned parks. I understand the reason for the change, but I still think that really the logical thing to do is change the zoning to rec from open space, because it's really rec, and it allows for buildings. As it is now, you're kind of making a messy situation where you add wording that says you can have these buildings, but only for the city. So I don't know why the city is proceeding along this path. Thank you for your time.
Anybody else that wishes to speak on this issue?
Hi again, Elizabeth Hostin, 232 East Main Street. I did not think I'd be coming up and talking twice tonight, but I'm friends with one of the managers of a local hotel here in the area, and she said that Airbnbs do nothing to negatively impact their business. So I'm hard-pressed to believe that these are a detriment to the hotel business. Furthermore, controlling how people take care and own their properties, I think, is a very delicate balance to work with. We look at our property, all the money we've put into it, excuse me, I got nervous all of a sudden. All of the money that we've put into that property, and seeing what we received when the prior renters moved out was disgusting. And that was something that my in-laws dealt with time and time again, that sometimes renters, granted I am one right now, they don't always take care of things. And so when we transition out of this house, we're talking about the idea of turning it into an Airbnb. It's a great downtown location. We love that place. We've put so much into it. And as an Airbnb, as I went to Airbnbs in the past, they're wonderful experiences. We do take care of it. And I really think that this is a very long and lengthy conversation that I think requires more than just tonight. But to limit it to 20 seems really crazy when we have 50 to 60 already in place. So that needs to be very thoughtfully considered. But to tell people how they can use their properties, I'm not really totally sure about that one. So I don't envy you guys with this, but I definitely, I think it's an important discussion to have, because we don't want to just have renters move into our place when we transition out and see all the work and effort and energy we've put into that place get harmed in some way, in some fashion. Not to say that's all renters, but Teresa and Chauncey have dealt with that. My landlords have dealt with that a lot prior to us. And so, I don't know, good luck with this one. So thank you.
I'm Justin Gross, 535 Butler Street. And I was actually at the Planning Commission meeting when this was discussed. And I thought I was kind of shocked if that's the process of making decisions, because I don't think any one of the commissioners had actually visited anybody's short-term rental or gone out to see what people are doing with short-term rentals. The other thing, I was pretty surprised at the lack of information available. Tom had mentioned that there were maybe 50 to 60. I'm not entirely sure how that information was gathered. He said maybe you called VRBO or called Airbnb. If you go online, you cannot find the address until you book one of the units. And I don't know if they made if they were letting you know that there were 50 in Grass Valley, or just the city of Grass Valley, or Western Nevada County. So that's a question that needs to be answered. As far as 20, it was Yolanda Cookson that came up with that number, and she sat there and she just said, I like 20. That was, I'm paraphrasing, but that's about what she said. There was no study, there was no, trying to figure out what the right number should be. It was really just a preference. That's what she liked, and that's what the commission went with. That seems problematic. And how do you decide which 20? I do have a suggestion. I think that this, as it is written, it should probably be scrapped and revisited. But I would suggest that maybe the commissioners, and maybe council members if you'd like, maybe talk to some people that are successfully running some short-term units, find out what they're doing, see what their rules are, see what kind of restrictions and rules they impose on their guests. I think that even one of the other things too about that commissioner meeting that was Chief Gamelgard and Mr. Last here, they both kind of said that there weren't a lot of complaints being called into the city. The police was not, the police department was not chasing rogue offenders, and it's more driven by some disgruntled citizens, and maybe there were a couple bad actors. But I think by and large, most of the short-term rental owners are pretty conscientious. We've made improvements to our neighborhoods. We've made improvements to our properties. So I would urge you to scrap this, start over, and actually investigate it personally. And I hope you would encourage the Planning Commission to do the same thing, because I don't think they did a good job with this. Thank you.
Anybody else? No? Okay. It's a one-time shot, but maybe we'll answer your question when we go through our comments. So I will close the public hearing and bring this back to council for discussion or action.
I think the 20 needs to be clarified, because I think there's some confusion on the 20. That's for the whole homes, correct, not the Airbnbs. So they're only talking about limiting the whole home. That's from the whole vacation home rental versus an Airbnb. And I know there are some homes out there that are completely Airbnbs, but.
And the commission did spend a lot. They did discuss this concept, the item of what the limit should be. They spent a half hour at least on that specific topic, trying to figure out what is the right number. Well, if they were, they can't talk. But again, they were trying to get a plurality vote to move the item on, and there was some of the commissioners didn't, they were very concerned with the vacation rental homes. Again, the rental of the entire home. That was a big area of debate. The total number was debated substantially, and they were given quite a bit of information on where staff came up with those numbers.
There was a lot of what ifs. What if that was next to me? What if, how they would react to it. So.
Question, is there any regulation on the length of stay? Now, I heard something.
Yeah, it's
3 months, no more than 3 months.
30 days.
30 consecutive days.
30 consecutive days, so no more than 30 consecutive days.
Yes.
If you go away for a week and come back for, or 2 days and come back for another 30 days, is that correct?
Yes.
I personally have never been to an Airbnb or a VRBO. It's not something that just the concept I would feel comfortable with me. It took me a long time to go to bed and breakfast. So, but I have a lot of friends, and to speak to one of the comments, this is the way they travel. I have a friend that traveled all through Croatia using Airbnbs and not knowing where she was going to be sleeping, but it worked out because there's so many Airbnbs available. So I agree with, I don't know, I think it maybe was Mr. Gross that said that this is the wave of the future. It's what the, and I hate using terms, but the millennials, this is what they do. This is how they like to travel. They like the personal experience. Wow.
Just cleared my throat. Okay.
So, I mean, I understand it from that perspective. My understanding of the what are they? VRBOs, I wrote it down because I always get it messed up, and the Airbnbs, that is a organization. Those are organizations that these people belong to, and that not only do the guest rate and review the homeowner. The homeowner reviews the guest, and if the guests are unruly or bad actors, they are no longer allowed to rent. Am I correct?
I don't know about the latter. The first one, I know that's true.
Airbnb has a rating system.
Kind of like Uber does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you're a bad passenger, you get a lower rating. They won't pick you up.
Okay.
So, yeah. So, I've heard a few comments that really resonate with me. I do think that this is a way for tourism. It's a future of tourism, especially in this community. I personally, and with my family, extended family, have used VRBO. I don't know if we've used Airbnb yet. My wife might have. But every property we can take a look at and read the reviews, look and see the amenities. But it's nice because with the whole home, you could bring your family with you. You could bring the in-laws with you. They got their own room. But you're all in close proximity. And it's really something that we like to do. We did that about, I think, a year ago. So a couple concerns on the city side is how would we police the 20? So you got the 20, but how would we police that if there was a number? Anybody could go online and just sign up and they could keep going. It'd have to be complaint driven, and I just think that having a number of 20 is really difficult to just say that. I don't think there should be a limit to it on the whole house. Economically driven, if you own a home and put it to a Airbnb and you do short term and you're not making money, you may just switch it over to a full-time renter at that point. It's the economy's likely to police itself. I think that the Airbnbs that I've seen within the city, they do have very, very tidy yards. The paint is clean. If you're going to be a tourist, you're going to want to stay in the nice places. The property owners realize that. They say, okay, how are we going to entice these people to stay at our place? Let's fix it up nice. And they will keep it that way because with short-term renters, they stay for a short duration. They get the cleaners in, they check it out, cleaners report back if there's any type of damage. The owner is more involved in that process. And I've seen cleaner neighborhoods because of that. So I think that's a benefit to the city of Grass Valley. That's my comments.
Yeah, so I think, when we start talking about economic development and, we start talking about new ways of doing business, we know that the Airbnb and the VRBO is definitely a mechanism for economic development, tourism, and creating other opportunities out there. I am all absolutely in favor of the Airbnbs. The whole home aspect of it, I don't believe in any sort of number. I think either we permit it or we don't permit it. I think I'm not really interested in creating ordinances that we don't have the ability to enforce. I also am not really interested in creating a use permit for somebody that may have it or may not have it, and they can convert that Airbnb from they can actually use it as an Airbnb and then say, never mind, and they still hold that use permit, which is taking permission away from somebody else to be able to have that opportunity. So you could give 20 use permits that can get converted back into a full-time place, and why would they not? They would never give that up, the first 20, because that is a value. So I think we either do it and allow it, or we don't allow it. And I think that we need to be opportunistic here as a city, and I think this is one way for us to be a little bit opportunistic. I understand that we may be taking a certain number of homes off the market. They're providing additional service that is a revenue maker for a variety of folks down that list. What we do is we get tasked as a council and as a community to come up with other ways to actually come up with housing projects that really suit that type of need. I also think that we've essentially have granted permission to these folks to buy these properties by not enforcing the rules on the books, and these folks have made a financial commitment, and based upon us granting that permission. We might not have granted it, but we did by being silent. And so I'm not necessarily interested in taking that away either. So my take is we allow the Airbnbs, we allow the whole home rentals, or we just say no to it all.
And the thing is, I agree with the fact that what a couple of people have said, how do you pick the 20 out of the 60 that are supposedly already existing? I 100% agree with that. I also agree with the fact that, it does take some homes off the market, but I am inclined to think that some of the people who own these homes that are using them for Airbnbs or the VRBOs are not interested in being landlords. They may not be interested in having rental units. I don't know. Because I'm guessing that the VRBO aspect of it would be a lot simpler than having a tenant that you would have a hard time getting out of there if they've lived beyond their 30 days.
I also think it's important, going back to what one of the gentlemen said, we didn't have any complaints.
Right.
We had very, very few complaints. We essentially had one, maybe two neighbors that really kind of drove this, because we were silent on it for many, many years. And I appreciate that maybe somebody else is having a bad experience with this, maybe not. But we get more complaints on other things than the Airbnbs and the short-term rentals.
I think that you're on a very slippery slope when you start telling people what they can and cannot do with their homes. And I think we've heard from a variety of people this evening, both age-wise and renters and homeowners who kind of all expressed that opinion. So, and one of the things you said, Tom, at the beginning, that this was a city council-driven ordinance or initiated, yes. And I will just say that was initiated by one complaint, I think, and then perhaps maybe one council person who thought we should be collecting the TOT on this. But as far as all of us getting together and saying we need to do something here, because if I'm a big believer, if it's not broken, don't fix it. And I think that when you start regulating like this, there's a lot of unintended consequences. And I heard it really loud and clear last week at a forum I was at where they were talking about the special events ordinance that the county put in, which was also a complaint driven by a couple of bad actors in the property world. And so the county came up with an event ordinance that covers everybody, and it has really hurt some of our small businesses' ability in the wedding business, in the special event business. So I think that when we start trying to regulate this to a point where it becomes a detriment to people coming to our community, it's a complete and total unintended consequences. On the other hand, I really hate the fact that the city is we're being put in a position to mediate issues between neighbors. And while we are here to make decisions and set policy for the city, neighborhood disputes are typically difficult for the city council to be able to legislate because it's really not within our purview. And I think that creating a lot of rules and regulations here where it's going to create disputes between neighbors is going to create some unintended consequences for the community. So I think, seems like there's a consensus up here that we want to put the ordinance in place. We don't want to have a limit. And I will tell you that 60 homes is less than 1% of the housing stock in the city limits of Grass Valley. So, and I know initially that had been one of my suggestions, is to cap it. But I think the other thing we can do is we can put an ordinance in place and do a test on it, and we can revisit it in 6 months or a year and see where we are with neighborhood issues. And because quite frankly, I have visited several of the Airbnbs in the community that are in small neighborhoods where parking is an issue. I happen to live next door to a bed and breakfast and across the street from a school where parking is an issue every day. But we have not had neighborhood disputes. We have not had people complain about it, because when you live there, you just kind of, you realize it and you live with it. And so urban living, yes. So we have a couple items here, and I did also tend to agree with Ralph Silberstein's comment about on the other issue, the park. Why don't we have it zoned as recreation? Why do we have it open space?
Oh, like that. That answer has, it's
we-
been on the zoning map
So
for
can we continue
20 plus years.
Can we continue that item to look at it a little bit more? Because I think with the possibility of Measure E coming into play, which would increase some revenue for our parks, which would involve potentially some new buildings or new uses in some of our parks and better uses of it. So can we continue that one item until the next meeting and get a little bit more information on it?
And again, that's in direction on that. Just the option is the council could just direct staff to initiate rezoning of all the city parks to a recreational designation.
I think we need to talk about
And
it a
that's,
little-
we can have that
yeah, I
discussion,
think we
but
need to
that's the
talk
other
about that a
option.
little- Yeah, separate it out. I mean, it's unfortunate because.
Well, you don't change it here.
Yeah, you have, the short-term rental thing here is dominated, others, you have other zoning changes in here, so it's kind of dominated the discussion. So if we could continue that one item and look at the short-term rental. And is there anything else in here that people felt other than the 20 units, which sounds like, I mean, I'm still in favor of capping those units, but I would do it as a percentage. Not more than 2% of the total housing units in the city of Grass Valley, which takes you to 120, which I don't believe there's 60 Airbnbs or I don't believe there's 60 VRBOs or whole house rentals in Grass Valley, because you don't know until you go on and look at them and book them. You don't actually know where they are. And I know the neighborhoods pretty well. I know my neighbors and where they are in our neighborhood.
Got an Airbnb in my neighborhood.
Airbnb is different though, because we're
Yeah.
not restricting the number on Airbnbs, so. But-
Again, it's not broke. We don't fix things that we don't break, that are not broke.
Or we basically just don't change anything and we just continue doing what we're doing and they're allowed by, what's the word? You're shaking your head.
Allowed.
They're not allowed.
They're not allowed.
They're not allowed, but we don't regulate them,
permit
it's
them.
complaint driven. So, those are our two choices. You wanna make a motion?
Yeah, I'll gladly make a motion that we introduce the ordinance amendments, Title 17 of the Grass Valley Municipal Code, and waive the first reading of the ordinance on its entirety, read by title only, with the change of no cap, as well as pushing off that other item on the rezoning of the parks into a future, item 4, to a future date.
I'll second that.
Christie, can we do a roll call on this?
Councilmember Aguilar?
Yes.
Councilmember Arbuckle?
Yes.
Councilmember Foyer?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Swarthout?
No. Okay, all right. And I think we're gonna take like a 2-minute bathroom break. And then Howard can come back.
He's like talking.
Could everybody please retake their seats and come back to order? We are, this is an item on the agenda that is general. It is funding requests, and we are taking them in the order that they are agendized in our packet. And excuse me, here I go. Okay. We will start with the Center for the Arts and the Nevada County Arts Council, the Wild and Scenic Film Festival, and the Nevada County Economic Resource Council, and Greater Grass Valley Chamber of Commerce, and the Grass Valley Downtown Association. These requests are requests. What I believe we told these people who are requesting is that we will take these under submission. We're not going to award granting tonight. We're still working on our budget, and we had a little bit of a talk about our budget at our last meeting regarding CalPERS and other items that we're trying to figure out. We have a pretty good estimate on that, and we've done a lot of research and a lot of forecasting, and we're working to get our budget in a place where we think the public will understand exactly what the ramifications of some of this long-term responsibility of the city is to its retired employees. So with that, we appreciate everybody who is making a funding request. Number one, they're all very important to us. Number two, we do have copies of everything, so we appreciate that you know that we can return back to them and have knowledge of what you're asking for. And so those of you who are here to support those funding requests, we appreciate your support for those opportunities as well. And you have the opportunity to comment after each one of those funding requests, okay? After all the funding requests are presented. Okay, so thank you. I'm sorry? Okay. So with that, we'll start with the Center for the Arts. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Council. Thank you, Mayor. My name is Amber Jo Manuel, and I'm the Executive Director of the Center for the Arts. This summer, we will have a historic groundbreaking where we will break ground on our building and embark in a $3.8 million renovation. This renovation will turn our 300-seat theater into a 500-seat theater. So we will not be able to perform in that space from June through March 2019. So a lot of this presentation is to ask for support while we are not able to be performing in our own home. Currently, the center brings 25,000 people to the downtown area when we have our shows. With having 500-seat theater that will open in March 2019, that will increase to more than 40,000 people brought to the downtown Grass Valley area. Currently, the economic impact that we have at event-related spending by center patrons is about $650,000. Our additional revenue projections currently are approximately $250,000. With this additional revenue and the increased audience size, the events-related spending by center patrons is estimated to reach $1 million in the downtown Grass Valley area when they come to eat out at a restaurant or visit. These are the programs that the city has funded in the past, and also programs that need additional support because they will need to be done in alternate venues during the renovation. The Center on the Go programming series, that is why we are closed for the renovation. We'll be performing at the Vets Hall, the Grass Valley Elks Lodge, Foothill Event Center, North Star House. Some of the events that we'll be doing is a local luminary series, which will highlight all local people in food and wine and other areas of our city. Youth arts education programs, the city has been generous with that in the past. We want to be able to continue all of the youth arts education that we provide the community while we are closed. That includes family fun days, the summer camps, which we have expanded despite the renovation. We're offering more summer camps, and we have partnered with the Nevada City School of the Arts, Curious Forge, Grass Valley Elks Lodge, and Gold Country Gymnastics to have those summer camps available this summer. And we're also supporting PAG, our resident children's theater company, throughout the renovation. Open Studios is another part of this presentation to ask for support. We usually are the host of open studios. We've been the host for more than 10 years. We need a location to do that, and we're asking for support to look for a downtown location. Maybe we could rent one of the stores downtown with that funding so that we could have our open studios hub there. And World Fest. The community outreach that we provide, 7,500 children are impacted by our youth arts education programs, 25,000 attend center shows, like I said, and 4,000 attend World Fest daily. For World Fest alone, 70% come from the outside the local area. So that's people that we're bringing to Grass Valley from other areas, the Bay Area, Reno, Chico, Sacramento. We currently spend in marketing $130,000 to bring people to our events in Grass Valley. So we're making quite an investment to bring people to the Grass Valley area. And so that's why we're asking you to invest in the center through this renovation so that we can continue to bring profit to this city. We would like to offer the city, in recognition of this, artistic programming sponsor for the Center on the Go series. We understand that the center is not able to support a capital bricks and mortar renovation plan because of the certain laws that we know we've recognized. But operations is different. So by having support for operations, we would like to be able to publicly acknowledge the city that they are a part of the center capital plan. And that's it for me.
Well, thank you for your brevity, number one, and thank you for the
Was
work
I less than
that-
5 minutes?
1 minute
Should I go
left.
on?
You got 1 minute.
You did good. No, you did good, Amber Jo.
Extra points for being short.
Yeah.
Yay,
No, we like it
extra
when you
point for
guys
being
get-
short.
But,
I do think this is going to be an historic, such an important project that we are going to bring to the city to have this 500-seat performing arts center right here downtown. And to be able to show the community that the city supported this project through helping our operations support through the renovation, I think will be really key.
Thank you so much. Any questions of Center for the Arts? As represented by Amber Jo? Sir, over that side. Thank you. Okay. And great presentation. Okay. Next. Oh, really?
It's because
Yeah,
we're so
totally.
mean. It's because we're so mean.
Well, only 50% of the people think we're mean.
I don't have any wine, so it's like challenging.
Okay. Nevada County Arts Council. Good evening, Eliza.
Thank you all so much for allowing us this forum. Let me just open up the, I'm left-handed.
It's part of your time.
Which one
Just,
is it?
just the mayor's meeting.
Howard's super mean. He doesn't like the arts at all.
So mean. God, I've known that for years. Right. Slideshow from the beginning.
Yeah.
So
If you had a picture of Peggy, you probably could. bring
Wes,
that
we
up.
are so grateful to be able to present this proposal to the City of Grass Valley. Thank you. We're seeking a very small amount of matched funding for our 2019 Sierra Poetry Festival. So what you see on the screen is half of a poster for our 2018 Sierra Poetry Festival, which is just about to occur at the last Saturday of National Poetry Month, where we are at the moment. But in particular to provide additional support for the children of Grass Valley to attend free of charge and to participate in our month-long Fringe Festival during National Poetry Month next year in a variety of meaningful ways. So outcomes for next year's festival remain as they are now and remain as they were last year when we applied for state funding from California Arts Council. We received a very small amount of seed funding to inaugurate a festival in order to encourage, educate, and inspire fledgling writers of all ages to become a part of a new and dynamic poetry scene as part of a broader effort now to create age-diverse participation, particularly youth, in the Grass Valley, Nevada City Cultural District. To foster a culturally prominent literary community, one that acts as a key driver for cultural tourism. We know that cultural tourists spend more, stay longer. To create an inclusive and open poetry establishment in order to curb what can often feel remote and inaccessible, and to encourage diverse artistic collaborations that help shed new light on poetry, and to ensure a diverse funding base towards a sustainable future for the festival. So our first festival was incredibly well received within California. California Poet Laureate and former chairman of National Endowment for the Arts, did our keynote, and a slew of recognized and emerging poets from across the country, California, and locally as well, participated, and even internationally. And of course, we know it all began with Gary Snyder, the first chairman of California Arts Council under Jerry Brown in 1976, who lives among us in Nevada County now. This is him delivering a reading for the Sierra Poetry Festival last week. But we know that it can't end with Gary Snyder. We need to educate a new generation of young poets and bring poetry into the schools. So we work with California Poets in the schools. We have teachers who are registered with California Poets in the schools, and we work through very special programs, a national recitation contest called Poetry Out Loud that I'm sure you've all heard of. And we also work with our middle school students before the festival itself. We provide free tickets to the festival, and they can attend so at no cost and participate in all our workshops, as well as during National Poetry Month itself, where we have a fringe festival running up to it. This is this year's Poetry Out Loud finalists from Grass Valley and Nevada City. Two of them were then sent to Sacramento to participate in the state finals, with 48 legislators there in the room at the state capitol. So we offer we offer the coaching for that and lead that program locally. These are some of the kids that we involved in the run-up to the festival last year. This is our finalist for Poetry Out Loud outside Briar Patch in Grass Valley, being recorded, broadcast live before the festival. This was our youngest Grass Valley student, 8 years old, also being broadcast live in anticipation for the next weekend's festival. We work with the schools very closely. This is Steve Hansen from NU, who was awarded the Heroes Award, the State Heroes Award, a couple of years ago, and that was, there's Dana Joyer, who's the California Poet Laureate and the Executive Director of California Arts Council and one of our Nevada County students. We've introduced a new program this year, which we hope to roll out next year as well, called Dream a Difference, which puts our students here in Grass Valley in touch with kids in Syrian refugee camps. These particular students that you see here are kids in a Ugandan refugee camp being taught poetry and speaking to our students here. So in our poetry festival, we'll be showing a video of our students in Nevada County communicating with kids in places such as the Gaza Strip, Uganda, Zimbabwe, Bangladesh, and Syria, teaching empathy. So these are the things that we do with our teaching poets, and we seek funding to continue that work and to leverage matched funding in terms of creating sustainability into the future. Thanks so much.
Any questions of Eliza? Okay, thank you. The next candidate, if I could use that, Wild and Scenic Film Festival.
I think Melinda, following the poetry, if you could do this in haiku, it'd be much appreciated.
Or
Not as a film festival, I do it as a video.
We get a little punchy here after 8:30, 9 o'clock.
Okay, well, I wasn't joking, so I'll have some words, but we're gonna just kick it off with, is the volume on this before I hit play?
Try it.
We can see
They
what
don't let us
happens.
have volume because they're fearful that we'll come down here and watch TV during the day.
That's why nobody can see
Yeah.
our screen.
Yeah, we can, yeah.
It's pretty cool without sound too, but we'll see what happens.
There it is. Wow, we haven't had a video yet. This is our first video on our Jumbotrons.
The Wild and Scenic Film Festival is a program of the South Yuba River Citizens League. My name's Melinda Booth. I'm the executive director at the South Yuba River Citizens League and have been the festival director for the last 7 years. We've been very, very grateful to have received support from this.
Automatic playing.
Levity is always
Good
good.
old YouTube.
We've been really grateful to have received some funding from the city of Grass Valley in the past and your support. What started in Nevada City 17 years ago has expanded into Grass Valley for the last 8 years. We've had a presence and it's been growing. Not only has the film festival as a whole been growing in terms of attendance, but it's been growing within Grass Valley every year in terms of our offerings and attendees as well. What you get when you support the Wild and Scenic Film Festival, it's doubly supportive to our community because it is the largest fundraiser for the South Yuba River Citizens League, supporting the film festival and bringing folks from outside the community. We have about 40% outside of our immediate Nevada City, Grass Valley attendees. They're coming from outside the area. We're bringing them here, but you're also supporting Circle and our efforts to keep the Yuba River, to protect and restore the Yuba River. We have over 800,000 visitors annually to the South Yuba River. The impact is huge, so the presence that Circle has in our community is imperative to continue to keep a big economic driver of our community, the Yuba River, safe and friendly for visitors. We're requesting a modest amount of support, and we're specifically requesting that you help us with our venue rental and our equipment rental within Grass Valley. The budget is pretty huge, but we broke it down pretty specifically for you in the proposal and are looking for support for our Grass Valley specific events. There's many other costs, as I said, that aren't there, but share those with you at any time if you'd like. We have a pretty big vision for 2019. Our Grass Valley venues tend to be our family and youth focused type of content. We like to bring that and market that specifically to our Grass Valley events. With the center's renovation this year, we're really excited for that. We've been using it as a venue, but we're going to have to get creative for 2019, and we're excited to say that we're planning on using the Elks and hopefully the Gold Miners in as well. So we have 2 new venues happening in Grass Valley for next year, which is really exciting. Thank you, Sean. I think you're here. One of the things in terms of what we can leverage, what we're offering to benefit the community, the money that we spend on media, we actually leverage into more than $50,000 of media buys and impressions for this 5-day event that happens every January. So that's a pretty big benefit to our community, and we're pleased to be able to do that. Our event is in January of 2019 during a traditionally slow time of the year, and hopefully bring a lot of folks who not only enjoy the community while they're here, but return again and again and again because they like what they see. Happy to take any questions and provide as much information as you like, but I think my time's about up. Thanks.
Melinda, any questions? Okay. Thank you. Next, may we have the NCERC and the Greater Grass Valley Chamber? Thank you.
And you don't get 10 minutes because there's 2 of you, Tim. We're going to try and hold to 3. In fact, if you want to put the button on, we'll try and say, Mayor Levine and esteemed council, my name is Robin Galvin Davies. I am the CEO of the Greater Grass Valley Chamber of Commerce and the executive director of the Grass Valley Visitor Center.
Tim Corkins, interim executive director of the ERC.
Great.
Welcome.
Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Speaking to the microphone, please.
Thank you very much for this opportunity to present our proposal this evening. It is a collaborative project, and we are proposing the Grass Valley mobile application. We know that technology permeates every aspect of our lives. We've seen that here. And we know that mobile technology and the advances in mobile technology are expected to create innovative experiences for consumers, foster a sustainable competitive advantage for tourism destinations and tourism-related suppliers, and create sustainable competencies for smart tourism. So here's our concept. Creating an interactive visitor destination mobile application with curated content that supports a broad range of visitor activities, is free to the user, simple to navigate, will maximize the visitor experience, and showcase the assets of historic downtown Grass Valley. The mobile application, the framework for the mobile application be intended to be used as part of a greater application, can be broadened to include all of Nevada County, which is why my partner is here. He'll get into that in just a moment. But I'll go back to the collaboration aspect. In order to build this framework, we're asking for support to build a framework in collaboration with key stakeholders that would be included. The City of Grass Valley, the Greater Grass Valley Chamber, the Grass Valley Downtown Association, Center for the Arts, Grass Valley Historical Commission, Nevada County Arts Council, and the Nevada County Economic Resource Council, to name a few. So we're presenting this project, and we've given you our project scope, the project scope requirements, and a recommendation for the mobile agency. There are two keys to the success of a mobile app. M&M, marketing and management. Mr. Corkins will speak to the marketing element. Management, local. That's part of our recommendation. The mobile agency that we have recommended has that facility for the key leadership team to be able to work directly with the mobile agency to create the framework for an application that fulfills all the requirements that we deem necessary to support a successful application. And marketing. And marketing, Mr. Corkins, I'm going to turn that over to you.
Okay, what we're talking about, everybody is up here talking about the Airbnbs, and everybody's bringing visitors to town, Center for the Arts, the Wild and Scenic. This is the next generation, is the mobile app on your phone that'll take you to every venue. I mean, you can plug it in right here and find Cramner Engineering. You can walk right to that. So, yeah, if somebody wants to go there. But we're talking.
Should have said Mill Street.
Right. But we're talking about an application that we can build. We have it built. We have a leadership team. And through the ERC, we're the county tourism consultant that runs their contract. We can push this out through gonevadacounty.com and actually get it out on the web with all the partners. There's a leadership team to handle this locally. So this ties into everything you're doing, and this is within the city limits of Grass Valley. This is building a platform that we can expand, and we talked about it through the cultural district, to take it from City of Grass Valley when it's fully built and operational, possibly Nevada City, possibly Truckee, but a Nevada County type application that is interactive that can send you to wherever you want to go. So you're the basis. You're the first one that would build this and put it into production.
I feel like we're on Shark Tank.
Yeah. Well, I was sitting here listening to the other proposal, and I'm thinking, app. It's all relevant to the app, including the VRBO and the Airbnbs. It's all part of tourism destination.
Any
Do
questions?
you have any questions for us?
The applicant, Ben? Just, you look pensive with your, unless you're growing a notice.
You're going to market it on gonevadacounty.com, and so if I'm, say, a tourist, I come to Grass Valley, how am I gonna find this app? How am I gonna even know about it?
It should have a broader distribution than just being on gonevadacounty.com. It should be on all of our websites. The
the application itself, the Grass Valley application, could certainly be on every one of the stakeholders of Grass Valley. Howarding should be on your website. Lisa, it should be on your website.
But it's how you found
It's how you
this
found it.
location to come here to begin with. That's where we're putting it out there. And the new upgraded, enhanced, integrated marketing plan for GoNevadaCounty.com puts that on it and pushes it out. If anybody comes near that for travel or bookings, it follows them.
So in our proposal, there was a case study, and one of the elements of that case study was about, I call it keywords because I'm old, and that's what we used to call it, and when we were searching, we used keywords. Well, there's SEO optimization by the words and the phrases that are used, and that's why we have made a recommendation to the mobile agency that we have, because they're very, very successful. They've created apps internationally, and they are part of the exercise is that they help us put our marketing in place. That's what they do.
And Ben,
It's
have
a
you
big
ever
element.
used this, something like this? You're the one traveling.
I've
Airbnb.
used when I travel, I typically will go to like Google Maps, type in something. What do I want to eat? Boom, it'll pop up and generate different restaurants. If I know if I want a burger, I'll type in burger joint. Bam, it tells me where to go, and I could just click one button and it tells me how far away it is. I could walk. I use that for an app.
So your wife probably uses this because she books the places.
Well, Airbnb, that's a worldwide thing. Anywhere in the world, you take that. Uber, worldwide, that is very, very, very well known, and it's a very easy to use app. It's very specific for a certain thing. You want a room, you could even just use Google for a hotel. Boom, and it'll bring up hotels. So that's what I do. I just had a little hard time figuring out how a tourist will find the app and the thought process. So you've got my grandparents who they don't really use the app. They use the phone for pictures and email, and they don't download quite a bit of apps. Maybe the stock app because he likes to play with stocks, but they have a hard time navigating the phone. My dad, same thing. I think my grandpa knows the phone better than my dad. So when I go to a city, like say San Francisco or Yountville or San Diego, I don't really think, oh, I got to download the city's app. I don't even think that. So I want to be sold on it a little bit better is what I want to see.
Well, there's about 50 pages that they provide
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Our council packet is 310 pages for this meeting.
Your record.
So I think some of us need to go back through and read the
Right,
whole
after
proposal.
hearing the presentation.
Are you using some of your request dollars from the county to also fund this as well? So would this be like a partnership with the city and the county?
Not the base app. The beginning platform that this builds is just the city within the city limits.
The mapping.
Mapping is an element.
Mapping is where the
mapping is an
county's money is
element,
going towards the mapping.
absolutely.
And then how do you envision paying for the marketing and the management of it? Is that your organizations are going to pay for that?
There are platforms, there are sustainability platforms that we can choose to cover the hosting of the application and any additional elements that we might want to include at a later date.
Thank you very much. And you were just at 5 minutes. Maybe 5 minutes
We
and
were going
22
to deed
seconds.
two to Eliza, but.
Yeah. So, and you, yeah, since there's only one more, Marnie, Grass Valley Downtown Association, and Haven, and 14 other people coming up.
They're all coming up. Oh my gosh, they're coming up in force.
Did they check their swords at the door?
Good evening. I'm Haven Caravelli. I'm the chair of the Grass Valley Downtown Association, and this is my executive director, Marnie Marshall. And these are all my people that support us. I first would like to say thank you for your time and keeping me way up past my bedtime. And I think it's really super cool that all of these people are here that are in favor to support all of these really neat things that we have in our town. I think that's pretty special. So Grass Valley Downtown Association is celebrating over 40 years of running as a Main Street program. We're one of the longest lasting, continually recognized downtown Main Street programs. That's pretty fantastic.
You are the
We are the longest, yeah. So that's really kind of cool. So what we're asking for is for some sponsorship to help us, because within this last year, we now have our executive director in place. We also have a part-time person in place. We've been able to turn around what our free public events have become. So last year, if you went to Cornish Christmas, you got to see how fantastic Cornish Christmas had become. Oh, sorry.
Keep talking.
We'll have pictures shortly. We had increase in vendors, we had increase in tourism, we had increase in the public vibe of what Cornish Christmas had. And now what we're asking for is some sponsorship to help us with this free event. We're also asking for some sponsorship to help us with our Thursday night market. We want to expand our Thursday market into a growers market, which we think would kind of keep building morale before the event and after. Kids' activities, public art, which I'm very passionate about, music, entertainment, keeping it a very, very local vibe which brings tourism from all over, because people love Grass Valley because of that vibe you get when you walk in, right? We're also asking for sponsorship to help us with cleaning the sidewalks. I was in business in downtown for 3 years. I left for a few years. I came back. I don't know that they've been cleaned in a while. And being a business owner in downtown, it's kind of a little bit of a thing that we all kind of talk about. Graffiti removal, trash can cleaning, vandalism repair. We're talking about turning our bathrooms at the GVDA right now into public restrooms. Again, trying to get access to that, so we would need some help financially to help improve that. Right now it's kind of a storage unit and a stomping ground for us. We're also asking for some sponsorship help in helping us to redo some of our marketing things that we need. Our website is up and running. It's very active. We have 10,000 people that follow us on Facebook. That's a huge marketing aspect, but our main hub of our website isn't really that user-friendly for our merchants, and that's something we'd like to actually transition into. We have over 250 businesses within our downtown in our BID. When I stepped in this last year, in January, I made a decision that I needed to get some things in order and get a very strong group behind us. And so we have 12 board members who are very active within our group. Each one of them have board blocks. They're out talking to all of the merchants, spreading information, getting information. And we run purely on sponsorships and help from people like you. So we'd really love for you guys to help us. We work very closely with everybody within the city. I think Marnie and I, how many meetings were we in today?
3.
Yeah.
Just like everybody. Sure.
Do you have anything else you want to add, Marnie?
No, I think you said it all. We just really want to, keep our locals coming downtown, and we want to really feature our businesses on our website. So that's what that marketing part is about. I think you all said it all. Good job.
Do you have any questions?
Can you go back a couple pictures?
He just wants to look at himself again.
Is that there it is. Yeah, she was
That's my dad,
she
too.
was, the year before that, Santa was her favorite friend. Now, not so much. We get some greatly placed, great crime pictures.
So that's the part that's cool about what we do with the GVDA, is it's that family piece. Like, that's my dad that your kid is sitting on. Oh, there's me. That's the part, and that's the reason why I got involved in the Grass Valley Downtown Association, is I love how much we get to interact with our local merchants, and we get to interact with our local community. And to keep that thriving, we need help. to keep it going, and that's what we're asking you guys for. And I think we have a really good plan intact. I think we have a really good agenda. We just had our annual planning meeting with Lonnie Lott, who was an executive director, who's also my mom. And so we have a really good plan in place for the next year, for the next 3 years. I have a solid group of board members who are really active, and we have all of our our committees are all filled right now. Everybody's meeting monthly. We have our economic vitality is intact. We're really working hard on filling some vacancies. Yeah, I'm excited. I think it's fun.
Oh, you had a nice statistical review in your package.
It's all online if anybody wants to check it out. We're very happy with the results. We feel like we really did increase attendance and participation in our downtown events this year. And we're really looking forward to improving all of that even more.
Thank you so very much. And we'll go to the printing press and we'll print all this up and get all the money we need. Yeah. It's the printing press?
No, the whole thing.
Oh, yeah. I'm not worried about that. It's the other side of it, the $85,000. We could just print it. Like the federal government, yeah. Like the feds, yeah. Is that legal?
No.
Can we do that?
Gary?
Okay.
Gary goes, why me? Michael's not here. Why me? Why do I have to have this?
All right. Let me get back to my agenda. I got it. Just give me a second. Okay, Nevada County.
Are you going to you told people that they could speak if they
Oh,
would like
I beg
to.
your pardon. That's right. Okay, public comment time. So I was getting back there.
Matthew Coulter, Grass Valley. I love the arts. You know that, Howard. And
Appreciate that. Didn't know that.
picture for you yesterday, specifically. And everyone asks for money. It's great. Downtown's probably never looked so good, minus the empty buildings. But just the basics, as I know money is hard to come by. Everyone needs some to keep their things going. But it seems odd that things that have been going for so many years have to keep coming back for another injection, that they can't, make it on their own when we need 85 grand worth of potholes fixed within 1/8 of a mile from here easily. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public? Yes. Yeah.
She's been waiting very patiently.
I have been. Sorry about earlier.
thought you
I
were
should
gonna
know
get
better
here
by now.
You're here
I just want to encourage approval of
We love having you. You're always quiet, and so it's nice to have you come up twice.
And I'm on mic, so I'm not so quiet. I just want to encourage the approval of the proposition that Eliza put forth, mostly because, not mostly, but a lot of it because of our youth and their opportunity to have culture and learn more about it and be part of it. And it also allows them to come for free. So I think that's a good thing, too. Thank you.
Silent majority. Hi, Mayor, Council. Sean Gillerin from the Gold Miners Inn. I urge you to accept these proposals. We need the help in town. You talk about tourism, talk about bringing in more occupancy as far as, or availability as far as VRBO and Airbnb. That's going to add quite a bit to the thing. We need to do a little bit of heavy lifting to support these organizations, to bring them to fruition and make them work. We're a member of ERC. We're with Center for the Arts. We're with
Town Association.
Yeah, name it, we're part of it. But we've been doing an awful lot of heavy lifting on our own, and obviously we contribute to the TOT as well, probably a little over $250,000 a year, and we'd like you to support what these organizations stand for, and we move that you guys move ahead with approving their funding. Thank you.
Hi there. I'm John Blinder. I live in Nevada City, but I am the current board president of the Arts Council, past president of the Center for the Arts. These are all really worthy and excellent organizations that deserve your consideration. I just want to take a note that throughout all these years, we are up here talking about the arts in a way that we've never talked about. When the City Council supported the Center for the Arts in 2005 or 6 with the block grant that allowed the Center for the Arts to grow and become much of what it's become today, the infusion of capital and the support from the government is a huge opportunity for the whole citizenry to understand the value of the arts in the community. And so I urge you to consider all of these seriously. I obviously have a deep passion for what's going on with the Arts Council to help provide the youth with an opportunity to go hear the most amazing world-class poetry that we could possibly provide in the most rural setting. Last year's festival was miraculous. Eliza deserves an enormous amount of credit for what she was able to produce, and this year will be even better, and next year even so. And the Center for the Arts, of course, deserves the support because of all that it's delivered to the city of Grass Valley over the many years. So anyway, thank you all very much for considering and for continuing to support the arts in Nevada County.
Eliza, you made the presentation, yeah, so you can't really double dip. You've doubled it, you can't double, yeah, yeah, okay.
Because
Yeah,
otherwise
nice
now
try.
you will get to do it.
Yeah, and then.
Rules apply to everyone.
We have to have rules.
Yeah, so any other public comments? Okay. Gil, you're allowed to speak, yeah.
Yeah, I'll go for the single dip here. I was asked to come here to support the GVDA tonight, which I'm happy to do. And all these amazing presentations, I didn't even know they were going to be here. What a wonderful blessing this is to have so many activities. But everything starts with a vibrant downtown community. And so that's why the GVDA has to be at the core of all these activities. Circle wants to come here. Center for the Arts is located here. But the downtown is what the city's all about. And so supporting the GVDA leapfrogs all these other events to bring them into a downtown that's vibrant and well attended. And yes, we have to eat our vegetables and fix our potholes. But without the core downtown organization and the businesses that have invested their lives here and the creation of that, then all these other things come here because of that.
Good evening, Barbara Thomas. I wasn't going to get up here because I know you all and you know how I feel about the Center for the Arts, but when all these other people spoke, I thought, you know, I should get up here and just say how much I love the Center for the Arts. And I would like to say, with Measure E on the ballot and all the people that are going to come to see the new building and the new shows, I mean, 60% of our attendance comes from out of town. So think of all the revenue for the city, and we'll be able to fix the things the gentleman talked about earlier. So please award all the money to all the people who have come up here and presented, because our community deserves it.
Thank you. And no clapping, please. And I want to, again, thank all of the presenters. And all of the people who spoke. It's really important. We understand. And we'll get a ruling sometime on whether we can print the money or not. So thank you. With that, we're done with that item. And I'm going to give you all, if you want to leave, about 2 minutes to say thank you very much. And
Can you explain the process to them,
So I thought I did that earlier. We're going to review these. We're doing our budget as well. And so this is a process. And as we work on the budget and know more, Andy's doing and Tim are going to be going over the budgets and we'll have a special meeting on the budget. And we'll have this done. And then I think we hope to have our budget done early June, but we hope to have information back to you sooner than that. But we will need that. We need to go through that process and know how much money we really can provide to all of these great organizations. So, okay.
Chief of Police was going to give up his PERS that we got to fund just to fund these organizations.
Yeah.
Tim, do we have a date for the budget workshop?
No.
Okay.
Sorry,
So,
we have not scheduled that at this point in time, but it will be announced shortly.
And the budget workshop will also be, is open to the public, so that's where we will be able to speak and amongst ourselves with the community on these requests as well as the rest of our budget. So when we know that date, we'll make sure that you all get it, and you would be welcome to come and listen and see where the money goes.
Okay. So if it's okay, if you guys want to, you're welcome. We won't be offended. But you're welcome to stay as well, because we're going to do transportation, and then we're going to do.
Dan's hurt now. You shouldn't have said that. 'Cause
Dan, I would have never given him that opportunity. I would have made him stay to watch your presentation.
He's been here when there's nobody before. Yeah, he knows what it's like. I would have stayed. Okay, so we're going to go to item number 9, Nevada County Transportation Commission fiscal year 2018-19 overall work plan. Okay, Bjorn?
Right. Good evening, Council, Mr. Mayor. For the record, Bjorn Jones, your senior civil engineer. Tonight before you, we have the Nevada County Transportation Commission fiscal year 2018-19 overall work program. It's the NCTC OWP. And so the OWP, and I should say we have Dan Landon here as well as the executive director of NCTC to answer any questions. So the OWP is prepared every year on an annual basis. It's a scope of work and a budget for transportation planning activities for the upcoming fiscal year. And the draft OWP is presented to each member, City of Grass Valley being a member of the NCTC, for review and approval of the proposed projects. And then the final OWP is taken to NCTC meeting, and that will be May 26th for final approval. And I'm not going to go into depth with all the programs in there, but just wanted to highlight a couple requests that the city is looking to add to the resolution, and that would be, one is a request to look at funds, NCTC funds and grants opportunities for the city to prepare a traffic intersection analysis for the Devil's Triangle, as we call it, the South Auburn, Neal Street, Highway 174 interchange, and that would be to kind of evaluate cost-effective concepts and to see what the best way to handle that intersection would be to improve flows throughout the intersection. And then the other request that we were looking to add was estimated at $125,000. It was for available LTF funds to be programmed for bicycle facility improvements, and specifically those would be used towards the Wolf Creek Trail project and bike improvements there. So with that, we're asking for adoption of the attached resolution, approving the projects, and for inclusion in the NCTC overall work program. And we're here to answer any questions.
Thank you, Bjorn. Do you have any comments?
Well, I'd just like to say, we're the little engine that working collaboratively with your staff, brought you the Idaho, Maryland, East Main roundabout. We brought you the Dorsey Drive interchange. And actually in 2004, we looked at a series of things that ultimately became Tinloy and Hanson. And I think that given the close proximity of the charter school to the Triangle, and Safeway is close in by it, we've got a pedestrian location, we've got the shopping areas nearby. I think we stand a really good chance of bringing you a grant that would help fund that traffic analysis. I got kind of excited about it when Bjord told me about it the other day, and we've been working with the traffic operations and design staff at Caltrans District 3. And so Friday this week, I will put in the grant application so that we can get a shot at that. I think we have a really good chance, and it's kind of fun to see that we've been able to do things in the past, and I think we've got things coming in the future.
Yeah. Any questions at this point? Okay. Any public comment, please?
This is one of my favorite subjects that we talk about often. Matthew Coulter, Grass Valley. The bike improvement thing, we have so few bike lanes, and even the ones that we have, the white lines are gone in large sections on all the routes that people commute on. And I think that should be a priority to get from Grass Valley to Nevada City, to be able to make these commute routes, because the more people that are moving up here, the younger people, they ride their bikes to work, believe it or not. And this really can't wait for improvement. I mean, we can study it, but right now it is critical, that intersection. You can't even roll a stroller through there. All you have to do is stand there for 5 minutes and watch what goes on there. That's the study. You don't need to put 125 grand into studying that intersection. How many studies have been done at that intersection since 1968 when it was put in?
Excuse me, please address the council.
Hi, council. How
Yeah.
many studies have been put into that since 1968? Because it's in the general plan. I mean, we've talked about these intersections for years, and we come back like it's a brand new thing that we're trying to do. But in the meantime, before the study's complete, before the grand Taj Mahal is built at that intersection, there needs to be some pavement improvements. The buttons to push, you can't even push them. They're so hard. So if you have a disability, you can't push the button to get across the street. There's no ADA ramps. I mean, there's lots of stuff that could be improved like a long time ago. Thank you.
Bring it back to the council. Any comments or motion?
I'll make a motion that we request the available funding to be programmed for the traffic intersection analysis at South Auburn and Neal Street, and adopt resolution number 2018-18 approving the projects for inclusion in the Nevada County Transportation Commission's overall work plan.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Aguilar?
Yes.
Councilmember Arbuckle?
Yes.
Councilmember Foyer?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Swarthout?
Yes.
Mayor Levine?
Yes, thank you.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Born. Item 10, playground maintenance project authorization to purchase new playground improvements. Mr. Last.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. Before you is it's partially a project that's being partially funded by a grant the city received last year. It was a community development block grant, not block grant, but it's called the Housing Related Parks Program grant. It was a program where the city could apply for funds related to, based on the number of homes we built that were affordable. So we received $84,000. The purpose of it was to do park improvements, park playground improvements. That was the intent of the grant. So after we received the grant, the city looked at some different options in terms of what ways we could improve the Memorial Park playground. So we worked with a couple different firms trying to come up with some different options and plans for that. And as a result of that, we do have a plan which is shown on the exhibit. It's a schematic diagram showing what playground equipment would be looking like. So as part of funding this, the city is looking at $84,000. The total project is approximately $214,000. Funds would be provided by the grant, also coming from the Park and Recreation Development Impact fees and the annual playground maintenance capital improvement project fees. Again, since this is, we are a member of a purchasing cooperative, we do not have to go out for bidding on this, and we have worked with a firm on getting this quote. So If you have specific questions on the actual improvements, I'll be happy to answer them. But there's 4 actions that we're asking the council to take this evening on the recommendation.
Commission, staff, you okay? Okay, any comments from public?
Matthew Coulter, Grass Valley. I spent about an hour today with talking with that company and several different reps from the company. Very nice folks. I wish we could buy stuff not from Wisconsin, but closer to this end of the United States. We were talking with the rep in the way that the playground equipment is going, and a lot of this really plasticky, multicolored stuff is kind of on its way out. And the way they're going now is a more natural. They have like fake logs and fake rocks and all kinds of things, because I guess playground science, from what they're saying, is going towards kind of reverting back to more of the dirt and the fun. And if you watch the kids at the playground, the kids that are outside the fence on the lawn and the dirt and the rocks are kind of having a lot more fun than the kids inside. Thank you.
Any comments of staff, or anybody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve the findings that the project is categorically exempt from the provisions of California Environmental Quality Act, approve the purchase and installation of new playground improvements at Memorial Park for $214,117 to BCI Burke Company, and authorize the city manager to execute an agreement to donate existing play equipment at Memorial Park, and authorize the city manager to execute all agreements associated with the purchase and installation of new playground subject to legal review.
I'll second.
Okay. Christie, could you do a roll call on that?
Member Aguilar?
Yes.
Councilmember Arbuckle?
Yes.
Councilmember Foyer?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Swarthout?
Yes.
Mayor Levine?
Yes, thank you.
Motion carries 5-0.
Item 11, adopt a resolution number 2018-19 opposing proposed state ballot measure restricting local taxing authority. Do you want to take that, Tim?
Yes. So for the record, Tim Keyser, City Manager. Before you tonight, staff is requesting council consideration of a resolution authorizing us to provide some comments on the Tax Fairness, Transparency, and Accountability Act of 2018, which is currently under circulation for signatures and proposed for the November ballot. The basic issue here is it would dramatically affect local governments on how we can tax our citizens. Those same requirements are not necessarily passed on to the state. So for us, it would dramatically impact us, basically require a 2/3 vote for any tax measures, amongst some other guidelines. I won't go into every little thing, but the League of Cities has put this out for cities to look to oppose this. And they specifically go through a lot of the restrictions and the issues that this tax is potentially going to cause the city if it was to go clear through the November election process. I'm more than willing to answer any questions.
Staff? Public comment? Okay, back to the dais.
I'll make a motion that we adopt resolution 2018-19 opposing proposed state ballot measure restricting local taxing authority.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, if I could prevail upon you for things you did over comments over the last 2 weeks, like Big Sur.
Brevity at this point in the evening. ERC, and yeah, we went to Big Sur.
Brevity, that's right.
Lisa?
Yeah, no, I don't even have time to look at my calendar.
Ben?
Ditto.
You did all that?
That's brevity right there.
Okay.
Yeah,
One.
me too. Did a lot of stuff.
Yeah, okay. I just, 2 quick things. The Sierra Nevada Memorial Hospital Foundation fundraiser Martinis in a movie. We did a recap of that, and we also sat at a meeting with the hospital foundation reviewing their I think it was close to $25 million investment in the emergency department. And the import of that for our community, I think, is gigantic. And so it's something that I hope people can pick up off the foundation's website, a video about all the changes that they're going to be doing at the emergency department. So with that, the meeting's adjourned. Thank you.